Good morning.
Hey.
Welcome. We are up bright and early, so bright and early that it's not even bright out. It's
I
dark
actually
outside.
slept in today.
Yeah, I know.
I'm normally up at 3 something.
I should say we're recording bright and early, so bright and early that it's not bright out yet. It's still dark outside, which means these lights that are on us are like, whoa.
Yeah, we have to record early because this week I'm going to be going to fire chaplain conference.
Yeah.
So it's like for fire department chaplains. Mm-hmm. So I'm the chaplain, recently became the chaplain for our county fire department. So
Yep. So in order for him to be able to go do that, we have to record a little early in the week, which means we're recording super early to get everything else going on in our lives. And so I have to tell this funny story to our YouTube viewers because our second daughter, Isabella, she works at Dunkin'. She's 18 years old.
they have a Baskin Robbins in there too. So you can get ice cream.
Yep. The girls actually get a cappuccino blast, which is ice cream and Dunkin' coffee mixed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I tasted it yesterday. It was really good. So we went in to like go harass, their sister, my daughter, because like that's kind of what you got to do when your teenage has a job, like a fast food sort of job.
Well, any job.
You just have to go in and harass them.
I don't care if it's like the most prim, proper, highest whatever job. Like, I'm coming in to give you a hard time.
Absolutely. So we get there, we get up to the front of the line, and I was like, can Isabella check us out, please? And the guy was like super confused. I was like, she's my daughter. And he was like, oh, yeah, sure. So he goes and gets her. She comes and I was like, we're just like messing with her. Hello, ma'am, blah, 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 whatever. Trying to make the order super hard. Giving her junk about her attitude, like all kinds of stuff.
I want a half calf, no fat, no fluff, no...
Yeah. And so I go to pay, and because I bought for my other 3 daughters, it was over $25, and they have a policy at Dunkin' that
4 people, cost was like $87.
it was not. But she's like, may I see your ID? And I was like, what? And they're like, she said, so the policy is that if anybody pays with their credit card over $25, they have to see their card to make sure that it's their card. So she had to check my ID, even though I'm her mother, gave birth to her. And she's trying to make sure that I didn't steal somebody else's credit card. She's sure like, the name on the card is the same as the name on the ID.
She's like, I don't know this woman.
I don't trust her.
Recognize her.
She is not my mother.
Crazy lady.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she was working with another, like the person behind us. Then she was checking them out. And we were like in her peripheral view. And we were just like making faces and doing stupid stuff. And she was like being so good. She's working. She's like,
doing her best to ignore you.
And all of a sudden she just goes like that. And the lady was like this and then turns around and she goes, I'm sorry, that's my family. And I was like, that's my daughter. And she goes, you want me to give her a hard time too? And I was like, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Ruin like, her day, please.
So we had a great time. But that's what parenting is all about, right?
It is what parenting is all about. Yeah. So going to be talking about parenting on our episode today. Not just about little kids, adult kids too, but just meeting your kids where they are.
Yep.
So I think that'll be helpful. We want our kids to meet us where we are. And that's not going to set us up for great, close relationships long term. So
yep. All right.
We'll get into that. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The Family Meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my wife. Well, maybe. Can I check your ID, ma'am?
No.
Lysandra.
Hello, and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 236 of the Family Meeting Podcast. I'm glad that you have chosen to join us today. I think we have a good episode for you today. We're going to talk about meeting your children where they're at. We want to talk about kind of the difficulties that can come with adult children. So like how the relationship can change between parents and adult children. And then also boys versus girls. Like how can a dad connect with daughters and a mom connect with boys? Well, here's what we want to really hit home today. And that is you as the parent have to meet your kid where they're at. We a lot of times expect our kids to be interested in our things. We expect our kids to come to our level. And a lot of times, like, that's going to cause a disconnect and it's not going to work. We are the parents. We're supposed to be the mature ones.
Yeah, good luck with that with our kids.
We love our kids more than anyone else in the world loves our kids. And so we're going to have to change some things and meet them where they're at.
So before we jump into that, got a couple things we want to share with you. First of all, our 31 Days of Wisdom for Couples. So we take the book of Proverbs, which has 31 chapters, and every day we pull a marriage goal and something to work on in your marriage out of that chapter specifically. So little devotional, some questions to answer. Then you can come together as a couple, share your answers, pray together, have some conversations, really grow as a couple, grow in your spiritual walk. You can get paperback and Kindle versions on Amazon right now. Best way to do that is to type in Lysandra Osterkamp.
There's very few of us in the world.
So it's so easy to find her stuff because of that. But if you want a signed copy, you can also go to familymeeting.org/shop, and you can find all three of our books there, but specifically looking at that 31 Days of Wisdom for Couple. And if you could help us and help other couples, if you purchase that on Amazon, if you just go ahead and just write a review.
That'd be great, yes.
And rate it. That would help others be able to find it as well. Mm-hmm. Boost it up just a little bit, make it a little more seeable. Mm-hmm. What's the word I'm looking for?
Visible.
Discoverable, visible, yes, for other people to see.
Discoverable, seeable. So, you okay, baby?
I'm doing great.
Take a drink of your energy drink.
I need to get a stronger energy drink here. I also want to have this conversation. I want to bring in our viewers on YouTube and those who are listening on the audio podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for joining us on Family Meeting. But my wife and I were having this conversation yesterday. We went to the gym. I worked out. Lysandra got a massage.
I worked out. Come on now. I worked out and then got a massage.
So I finished a couple minutes before her massage was over. So I make my way home. And Lysandra made a social media post. I'll show it for those of you who are on YouTube. But she, you made a social media post about a conversation we had over text.
Yeah. So
Lysandra texts me and says, this is 7 o'clock yesterday morning, 7:01 to be precise. The tire pressure light is on in the van and has been for a couple of days. Can we check that today, please? So this is the text message Lysandra sent to me. So I responded, yes, stop at Wawa and fill it up.
Laughy face.
Yeah. Which Wawa is literally across the street from the gym. So it's like you drive no matter how she goes home. She's driving right by the place.
However, when that text about stopping at Wawa came in, I was already way past it.
But
in my defense.
But for days she's been doing this.
Yes. That's true.
So Wawa has, for those of you that don't know, Wawa's a gas station. Excellent gas station. Probably our favorite. Mm-hmm. But they have free air that you can put in your tires. Nice place. And so then she texts me back. By we, I meant you. Was that not clear? So we had that little conversation. And then a couple hours later, she took a picture of me filling up the air in her tires so she could post this whole thing proving that she got me to do what she wanted me to do. Well, but here's the thing. Like, we've been married for 21 and a half years. Lysandra's never put air in the tire.
No, and I don't plan to.
Never changed a flat tire. Didn't know how to. I was explaining to her yesterday while I was doing it how to do it in case she ever actually had to do it.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I wasn't listening.
I'm sure.
I have no intention of putting air in the tires or changing a tire or any of that kind of stuff because I like that you do it for me. Can I handle it? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing you can't handle as a strong, independent woman.
I am. But I want you to do it because I want you to be my little hero.
So for 21 and a half years, she's never done it.
No.
But this little conversation breaks out underneath her social media posts, which I find really funny. So I want to share some of this conversation with our listeners. Yvette says this, you should get the portable one my husband got for me. He was tired of us, in all caps, having to do it all the time. And John says, yes, I just got one and it's a game changer. And he tagged me and he said, if you are interested, and then sent me the link.
Yeah, tell him you're not interested. Your wife does not intend to fill up her own tires.
Yeah, no, she definitely doesn't. And it's a Neverland tire inflator or portable air compressor. So
now that would be nice for like bicycles and stuff.
Yeah, it shows picture of bicycle, motorcycle, cars, and all that.
Yeah,
so you
cool.
can fill up your air pressure. Yvette says he also bought me a portable battery charger.
Those we have seen. We've borrowed somebody's. Remember when we had problems with that?
Yeah.
The last car with battery, yeah.
So Ryan chimes in and says, yeah, that isn't a we thing at all, ...
Nope.
Here's Charles. And I know Charles, so I know he's just joking. So if you're listening, you don't know Charles, you're going to hear his response and think, this guy is a major jerk.
He's not. He's great.
He might be, but not in this case. He's just joking. So he says, not to sound non-gentleman. so you know right away whatever's coming.
It's going to be bad.
Going to be brutal. But what happened to women who want equal rights? Same pay as a man, to be treated as equals. We are strong women. But most tire shops will air your tires back to specs for a few dollars. And if you ask, they will check for leaks, as sometimes the valve stems will start to leak. With that said, Tom, check her tires before she says how long before you do what I asked.
Hey, guys, I sent that text, and 2 hours later, he was filling my tires.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, and it's not just 2 hours later. It was as soon as we got back on the road.
Yes.
So Tim says, oh, my word, all the time, talking about this conversation,
Yeah.
because she goes, ever have conversations like this with your husband? And Robert says, this is 100% a normal conversation between long married couples.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yeah, too funny.
it was a lot of fun. It was funny.
Yeah.
I found it funny.
Yeah, we had a good time. It's just fun to be able to talk to friends from across the U.S. And some around the world.
Some around the world, yeah.
Sometimes,
But
yeah.
to just, hey, these are conversations we as married couples have all the time, and
All
it
the
just kind of, you find the amusement in it.
All right, so let's get into our discussion for today, because parents can fail to meet their children where they're at in a variety of ways. And often it kind of stems from this disconnect between expectations, experience, or understanding. And a lot of times it is a disconnect because of where the child is in reality, like where they are, whether they're young or they're the adults. And a lot of times we don't fully understand where they're at, and we are not trying to come alongside of them and meet them where they're at. So
Yeah.
as children transition into adulthood, we can often struggle to adjust to that new dynamic in the relationship. We're going through this right now.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. It's hard.
Weird. Sometimes I forget they're not small little children anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I'll find myself like talking to them in such a way as if they were small kids. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
they're not. Like, she's 18, she's 19, she's going to be 17 soon.
Yeah, it's changing. And then you've got these parents who have adult children who are like having children of their own. They have their own homes, their own lives. And there can be such a disconnect because we as grown parents are not meeting our kids where they're at in their lives, because now they've started their own life and we have to come in alongside it and meet them where they're at. But it can be challenging for both parties, okay? It really does challenge the parents, yes, of course, but also remember that your child is gaining independence and developing their own identity and stuff, and they're kind of trying to figure all that out as well. So the first thing that we're going to talk about on today's episode is this idea of meeting our adult children where they're at, and how difficult it can be and everything. And then we're going to talk, after we finish kind of that and wrap that up, we're going to talk about dads to daughters and moms to sons, and how we can disconnect and then remedy that.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear you talk about moms to sons.
I'm just going to cry through that whole part about like what it's like to have a son. I don't know.
Coconut is highly offended right now.
Yeah, Coconut's an easy son to connect with. I just like let him go potty and give him a treat, and we're pretty much good.
Yeah. But you're talking about how challenging it is for both parties as
Yeah.
the child grows and gains independence and all that kind of stuff. And I have to try to remind myself of that for our daughters, because obviously they've only known our relationship from one aspect. Me as the grown adult man, their dad, and them being the children. And now they're growing up, becoming adults, becoming amazing women, by the way, who I'm so proud of.
Yes.
They're so talented, so driven. They work hard. They're excelling in so many areas.
And they are kind.
And so, yeah, they're kind most of the time. To
others, they're very
others.
kind.
Yeah.
To each other, sometimes they struggle, but
as we do with the people closest to us in our house, right? But now, they are becoming women. They have become women. And so now they're having to, relate to me in a different way than they did when they were kids. So it's hard for them. It's hard for me to realize that sometimes as well. And just this thing for us as parents where we have to shift our role from being the authority figure to more of a peer. Now I'm still their dad, but it's more of a, like, I'm an adult, you're an adult. And we have spent years, like, as the authority figures in their children's lives. As we've got a 19-year-old, we've got an 18-year-old, soon to be 17-year-old. So basically their whole lives, they've known us just as the authority figures. And now that's starting to shift. And we have been the ones who make the decisions, who set the rules, who provide guidance. Now, I think as the rest of their lives, we can provide guidance, but it's a little different.
we're not setting any rules, not making any decisions for them.
And even the guidance as adults should be guidance that they come and ask for.
Absolutely.
Right? Unless there's real danger going on, and then you're like, hey, I need to step in. But once children become adults, that power dynamics shift. And parents often find it difficult to let go of their role as the primary decision maker. And this is something I have to remind myself of all the time with the girls, whether it's like what jobs they picked up, what shifts they pick up at work, and all those sorts of things. And that can really create some tension, as adult children may not want to be controlled or overly guided.
Yeah, and I think about like these parents who come to visit their kids, and because like this has happened, of course, we've been on the receiving end of this, where we're the adults, we have children, our parents come to visit, and our parents are all, really good about not trying to make decisions for us or trying to tell us what to do or anything.
Just not taking over our lives when they come in.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that our parents really handled this well as far as meeting us where we're at.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they did a great job.
They love spending time with us, and they love helping how they can.
Yes, but they were never trying to tell us what to do, make decisions for us, shame us into whatever. Granted, we mostly made good decisions. We weren't walking down a dangerous path or anything like that. So I think that they felt like they could kind of step back a little bit too.
And we had a different dynamic. So when we got married, obviously we moved 1,000 miles across the country. So we really, for the most part, were on our own.
Yeah, which in a way was a blessing.
Had to make it on our own, and without family right there to support us, or that everyday opportunity to step in. So
yes.
It was like we had to do it. And so when we got back together and moved with family, the dynamic had already been established.
Yes.
So it might be a little more tricky for those of you who, your kids are near you all the time, or your kids are even, adults, but still in your house for a variety of reasons, to make that, distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. But we got to find a balance between providing support and respecting that adult child's independence. And it's difficult to do this. And a lot of times we struggle to relinquish that control over certain aspects of their life. And I know that it's hard when you have kids and they're making career choices that you don't agree with, or relationship choices that you don't agree with, but they're adults. They've got to make their own choices.
Yeah.
And it's really tough. How do you meet them where they're at when you don't really think that they're walking a great path? You don't really agree with their career choices or their relationship choices. Well, you know what? There's not anything you can do. That's kind of the bottom line. You can't change their career. You can't change that relationship when they're adults, but you can meet them where they're at. You can walk with them even if they are going to struggle, and you can see that like explosion at the end. Like you can see it coming. Just meet them where they're at. Be there with them when it happens.
And I think that, as we talk about just about every episode, whether we're sharing scripture or just mentioning the fact we are Christians, I am a pastor, we lead a church together, it can be extremely difficult for Christian parents to watch their kids make decisions that go against their faith, or walk away from that. And so I think this episode will be helpful for those parents who are kind of experienced that as well. Mm-hmm. And sometimes these career choices or relationship choices coincide with, hey, my faith doesn't agree with this. Mm-hmm. So how do I reconcile that? But this is also my kid, and I want a relationship. And we've personally heard some very toxic things taught about things like this. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes here. But just as we're having this conversation and mentoring career choices and relationships, I can't help but think of that faith aspect as well. And some of you who are listening right now are like, yes, exactly. That's what I'm experiencing.
Right.
So I think this episode will be helpful for you also. And here is the thing, you're talking about them making these choices. Oftentimes parents can feel left behind or disconnected from their children's current life experiences. Yeah. While adult children might feel their parents don't understand the complexities of their new stage of life. And I think kids, as they grow, they think that about their parent at whatever stage they're in.
Yeah. My parent doesn't get it. They don't get how stressed I am.
Yeah. Until, when I kind of moved out on my own, I was like, oh man, I had it really good at home.
Me too.
Or, and it was funny. We were having this conversation yesterday about some of our daughter's friends, and as I mentioned, they're older teenagers, so they have friends who are older teenagers and
young adults,
getting ready to move out on their own and get apartment and this sort of thing. And our daughters are like, what do they want to move out for? I don't want to pay for my own stuff. Like,
they're like, I love mooching off mom and dad.
Yeah, and
honestly, we're like, great, keep doing that.
Yeah, well, I bought them pizza last night just to remind them, like, hey,
you have it good here. You don't need to go anywhere.
And I didn't realize how good I had it,
No.
And until I moved out, and then of course it's like, you think as a kid your parents don't really know anything about anything, and everything. Then I had kids, and I was like, oh man, my parents understood way more than I did.
Right.
But even as you have kids, right, you can think, well, my parents don't understand how to parent today. And we just have that viewpoint that, and it is a lie. Like, things change, obviously technology and all that kind of stuff changes, but we tend to think that my parents don't understand this situation. And it's like, they do. Like, there are things that are different, but parenting is still parenting. So we still have that mindset.
Yeah. And adult children often can, they start establishing emotional bonds outside of the family unit, right? So I think about Thomas and I, we had our own lives, we had our own friends, and then we have a birthday party for one of our kids. And his mom comes over and my parents come over and all of our friends are there. And there's a disconnect, right? Like, a lot of times our parents didn't even really know our friends very well. And so we're over here having a great time with our friends, and our parents now enter the scene, and it's like there's this disconnect, and it's like, how do you figure out
connect everybody?
Yeah. And I think our parents did a great job in this. They loved our friends the same way they loved us.
Yeah.
And let me share with you what our parents did. My parents specifically, when they were trying to meet us where we were, they invited our best friends over to their house to play games and have dinner. You remember several times.
Oh, yeah.
Several times we would grab our friends. We would all go to my parents' house and we would have games and dinner. Another thing my parents did, and this really is over the top. This is my mom. My mom babysat our kids and our friends' kids so that we could go on double dates. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
We had such tiny little kids. So she offered to watch like six kids.
6 little kids.
Little toddlers.
And she nailed it and they loved it. They had a great time at grandma's and we had a great time with our friends. And it was special because that was something my mom didn't have to do, but she did it because she wanted to meet us where we were. And she did, and she nailed it. But as your adult children create these emotional bonds outside of the family unit, it can create this sense of emotional distance between the parents and the child. And parents can feel hurt and abandoned as their adult children prioritize other relationships or personal growth over family connections. And that is something that our kids have to do at some point, is they have to say, like, I'm an adult. I have got to focus on my life. I'm no longer worried about what mom and dad need all the time. Like, obviously, we always care about our parents. But at some point, you have to say, like, this is my life and I got to live it.
Right. And that is the natural progression of life. That is exactly what we're trying to train them to do, is we're not raising kids. We're raising adults who can go out in the world and make an impact. But even though we know that and like that is the goal, it doesn't make it easy when it's time to make that shift.
Yeah, exactly. And adult children during this time, they can even feel like, hey, I'm trying to navigate my own emotional needs without that constant presence of my parents. And they're struggling too. Like, it's hard, but yet they can't go back to their parents because they've got to figure some things out for themselves and make these choices.
So as your adult children begin to form their own opinions, values, and lifestyle choices, these might differ significantly from the beliefs their parents hold.
Yeah, that's tough.
So let's think about a few of these things here. We've talked about career paths already. Mm-hmm. Religion, so faith.
Yep.
Can be differing. Politics, and that can be a hot button issue.
Best just not to talk about it.
I remember one dad who he is left, like he's a Democrat, he's left, and we're friends, and that's okay. Which, by the way, you can be friends and have closer relationship with people who differ from you in politics.
Amen.
There's something wrong with you maturity wise if you can't be close, love, and respect people who have differing opinions and beliefs in you, whether it's politics or faith or whatever else.
Yes.
But he was joking about the fact that somehow he ended up raising a conservative. And I thought that was really funny.
Where did I go wrong?
Exactly. But, it's exactly this, though. It's like, okay, politics are different. Even though they grew up in our house, they saw, the values and everything else that we tried to instill upon them. Or issues like relationships also can create rifts. Whether it's, this is not a good person, like for you, in my opinion, not a good person for you
whether
to be
they're dating or they're
relationship,
married,
friendship, or whatever else. And so parents can find it difficult to accept or understand the new identity their adult children are creating for themselves. And, I get that because even with our own daughters, there are certain things where it's like, oh man, like I wish that was not that way, or wish you weren't choosing to do that or make that choice or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're creating that identity. And I think this one's really tough. Adult children have busy lives. They're managing careers, their relationships, their personal responsibilities, their own children. And then parents start to feel like their children don't make enough time to spend with them. And I think it was Mike and Cheryl Grover said, the only way that you get into your adult children's life is if they invite you in. They have to invite you in.
Yeah.
So how do you want to act in order to be invited in? And I thought that was really powerful. But you can often feel disconnected because your kids are busy. They're doing so much. And probably your adult children are feeling guilty because they know they need to spend more time with mom and dad and stuff. And it's just it can be an uncomfortable situation. It can be really difficult. But the bottom line is we as parents have to meet them where they're at, meaning meet them in their busy lives. And I think, again, my parents do this really well. They come alongside us when we're in our busyness. So it was really cute. Like I was painting and, my dad knew that I was painting and they were here because they come here 4 months in the winter. And my dad's like, call me if you run out of paint. I'll go to the paint store and bring you paint to your location.
Which is so nice.
It's like the sweetest thing ever. Or like how many times did they transport kids when we were working, get the kids from volleyball, take them to volleyball or whatever. All the different things. Like my parents are really good at meeting us in our busyness because we do live busy lives like you do too. But how can you meet your kids where they are?
Yeah, and you shared that, thought from Mike and Cheryl, who are good friends of ours, amazing people, have a lot of wisdom to share.
Yeah.
And it just has me thinking about that specifically. And this is exactly what we want to do, is we're going to talk about some ways to kind of overcome these struggles. This is the way that I want you to think about it as a listener, the way that I'm trying to think about it as a dad, is living my life in such a way that my kids want to invite me into their lives.
Yes.
Like living an invitable life.
I like that. Living an invitable life. That's good.
So if we have the wrong reaction, we make it so they don't want to invite us into their life, into their world, into what's going on. So I want to live my life in such a way that my daughters, they want to have dad around. They want to invite me into what's going on.
Yes.
And so let's talk about how we can live that invitable life here and overcome these struggles. And it starts, like all relationships starts, with encouraging open communication.
Yeah, for sure.
So parents and adult children should make a conscious effort to maintain open, honest conversations. Understanding each other's perspectives can help bridge any gaps in communication. And so you have to learn how to make that transition in how you communicate with your kids. And that should be happening over time. Like you don't talk to your teenagers the way you talked to them when they were toddlers, hopefully. Otherwise, that stunts the communication. So even as they're making all these different progressions in their life, your communication towards them is shifting, it's transitioning, and the same as their adults. Like, if you would not meet an adult and talk to them that way, then you shouldn't be talking to your kids that way. Mm-hmm. As far as the style, obviously you're going to talk with your kids, hopefully, about things you wouldn't talk with a random
more
stranger.
Intimately.
But I'm talking about just the respect and those sorts of things, the way that you communicate to them ought to be the same as any other adult you would meet and talk to.
Mm-hmm. So this open communication is challenging as the dynamic shifts and a child grows. So even during the whole adult child stage, which is, 30 years, you can be 30, 40 years where you're parenting adult children. And I think about the way that it's changed between my parents and me over the last 20 years. So they bought a house here in Palm Coast and they come every 4 months. And I had to have a really hard conversation with them. It took all my maturity to have this conversation because when they first moved here, they're so excited about their new house and we renovated it. Like Thomas pulled out the carpet, I put in new flooring. We literally renovated the entire thing.
We should have done a whole reality show about it.
We missed our opportunity.
I know. We could have got it picked up by HGTV. We could have been millionaires by now.
Yeah, maybe.
Missed the boat.
So here's what happened though, is every time my parents came down, they looked at their home like, what else do we need to have done? And we'll have Lysandra do it. Because Lysandra said I would do it. Like I told them, I will do anything you want. Just tell me what you need done and I'll do it. Well, then what happened was every time when they were down here for their 4-month time, every time I came to the house, my dad's like, hey, let me show you something. I need you to fix this real quick. And what I realized is I didn't want to go over there because it was no longer like a relationship where I could sit and talk to my mom and dad. It became, they had the handyman coming over.
Yeah, if I came over, I knew I was going to be working. instead of like connecting and
just spending time with my mom and dad.
Members. Yeah.
So I knew I had to have a conversation with them because I was starting to resent them. And I don't want to be like that. Like my parents and me have always been very close. And I could see this thing happening. And I had a choice. Like, am I just going to resent them and complain to my husband about my parents? Or am I going to actually try to like fix the situation and save the relationship? And I chose to save the relationship because it's important to me. So this open communication is the most important thing. And I went to my parents and I said, I got to talk to you guys. I was like, I will fix anything you want fixed and I will renovate anything you want renovated. But I'm going to ask that you please put it on a list and that we confine it to a work day. And I will put a day of my calendar that says mom and dad work day. And I will come to your house in my paint clothes, in my work clothes, and I will bring my saws or whatever you need done and I will do it. But we won't talk about it until the work day. And they were so apologetic and, I didn't even know we were doing that. You know, they're gracious and wonderful people. And so then like if I would come over for a coffee date or to walk with my mom, they would both work really hard. And it was hard for my dad.
Yeah.
He'd be like, hey, what do you think we could fix this window over? No, honey, put that on the list. You know, it was so funny.
Because he's just
he can't help it.
As it comes to mind, like that's his time to share it before it's gone.
It overtakes his mind until he can make sure it gets done.
Verbalize it.
So it's like, if it's on the list, Dad, it will get done. I promise. And so now it's been 3 seasons, 3 snowbird seasons down here. And the workday list has worked. A lot of times I'll do a workday at the beginning of their time here. Actually, I always do. I always do a workday at the beginning when they first come, and then I do a workday at the end before they leave, so that whatever comes up over that 4-month time, it gets taken care of before they leave. And that's worked. But imagine if I didn't communicate, if I didn't tell them how I was feeling, then I probably would have stopped going over there.
Yeah.
And it would ruin the relationship. So
because it was a thing where it's like, okay, I can't just ignore this.
Yeah, exactly. Because I did try for a while to ignore it.
Some things you can just ignore, and some things you try to ignore. And it's like, I'm just going to overlook this. It's not that big a deal. And then you're like, oh, maybe this is more of a big deal than I think it is. And
what I kept thinking, because I didn't say anything for a while, I kept thinking, they'll run out of things. They'll run out of things to fix or to change.
But they
haven't.
Because you're a homeowner, you know, like it never ends. Like we have a long list of stuff. Now, I just ignore
it. In my own home, I ignore it.
Yeah, but some stuff it's like we're ignoring until we have saved enough money to be able to do that thing.
Yes, that is
it's
true.
Like,
yeah. Or until we have time. So never.
Yeah.
I should put a work day on my calendar for our house.
For you, yeah.
For me, I know.
Now, if you want something destroyed, call me in. I'm in.
Well, you did a great job of my life, so.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Lightening the mood a little bit.
Never gonna stop that. So.
We might have to make the moms and sons and dads and daughter episode a different episode. We're running out of time. We haven't even finished talking about adults.
Oh, we still got some time.
You got time? All right.
We got a little bit.
All right. We're watching the clock, people. We're watching the clock.
Okay, so talking about living a life that, you know, is invitable.
Right. So respecting independence, okay?
Yeah.
All right, here's what we can do as parents. We've got to recognize and respect that our adult children have this need for independence. They need it. It's not just that they want it. And we've got to support them in their decisions, even if they differ from what we expect. And when you do that for your adult children, you are going to foster mutual respect. They will respect you because you have respected them. And then what's going to happen is, living that invitable life, they are going to invite you in when you have a decision to make. They're going to come to you because they know they respect me, I respect them, and I can ask them this opinion or what I should do in this case, and they're not going to try to take over my life.
Yeah. And that whole independence thing, I mean, it starts when they're babies. Mm-hmm. They start to learn that independence, and that's what crawling and learning to walk and all that stuff is about. It's about gaining that independence, and that's a natural part of life. And at each stage, we've had to learn how to respect that and give them that independence and And now as they become adults, it's like full independence, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we've been working for. And so as they develop their own lives and all of this, one of the things that you and I have to do as parents is we have to find new ways to connect with them. Mm-hmm. Because the old ways may not necessarily work anymore, because they do have their own lives. They've got the new interests, jobs, and all that kind of stuff. They're not just around the house all the time for us to do X, Y, or Z. I think about the coffee time that you enjoy now with the girls. Mm-hmm. Even that has started to shift a little bit.
It has.
Where not every girl can show up every time.
Yeah. Well, and we're only missing Isabella. Isabella works until midnight oftentimes. So with that, then she gets home and has to kind of decompress before going to sleep. So she's not ready to have coffee at 7 a.m. with the rest of us. And that's been hard.
Well, and sometimes Catherine's gone because of cleaning job or dog sitting or something like that. And so
she's at a house right now, dog sitting.
Yeah, they're not always around in the same way. So now we've got to find new ways to connect.
Yes.
And maybe this is something you can talk to your kids about and should talk to your kids about, is like, okay, what are some common interests we have that we can work around this? Can we set up a coffee date together because that's what we enjoy? Or maybe it's enjoying golfing or pickleball or just fill in the blank.
Yeah. Grocery shopping together.
Where you're just kind of doing the things together that you've got to get done just because of life. But whether it's through shared hobbies, travel, or just quality time together, you're exploring and figuring out, what does this new life look like, and what are the ways that we connect in the way that life is now? Right.
And I love this idea of meeting them where they're at, because I think about things like, okay, your kid has, say, a conference across the state for their job. Why not just offer to ride with them? Hey, I'm going to ride with you. We get 2 hours in the car there. You go do your conference. I'll mind my own business, do my own thing. We'll ride back. We've got 2 hours in the car back.
We'll sit in a hot tub for 8 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm meeting you where you are. I'm not asking you to change your life to fit mine. I'm changing my life to fit yours. I'm meeting you where you are. And along with this, we have to embrace change. Okay?
This is a lot harder for some people than others.
It's harder for me than it is for you.
Yeah.
I don't like change anyway, in any way, any kind of change. I do not like it.
And I'm more go with the flow. Like, this is what's going on in life right now. Yeah. Just roll with the punches. Let that water roll off the duck's back.
Yes.
That's just kind of the way that I live my life.
What is an animal that soaks up water?
A sponge.
Thank you. Turns out I knew that. So I have water on a sponge back. You have water off of duck's back.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
I'm changing your name in my phone right now to Spongeback.
I'm Spongeback. That sounds so yucky.
Spongeback SquarePants.
Like a porous back. Like, ugh. Okay, we have got to move on. I really
have derailed us here with this.
I ruined everything.
Spongeback thing.
That was gross. That sponge. Okay, but listen, we've got to accept.
Hey, Spongeback.
I created the worst nickname for myself ever.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, we got to accept that the relationship is evolving and it changes.
It's changing, yeah.
Embrace the changes. Focus on building a more adult-to-adult connection. And just try whatever you can do to make this transition smoother, make it easier for you, but also try to make it easier for your child.
So what are some things that you're doing? Obviously, change is a little harder for you. So what are some things that you're doing that to try to help that you meet them where the kids are at? Give some few ideas. I think we will save the dads and daughters and moms and sons type things.
Mm-hmm. We can do that in a couple of weeks for our other parenting episode. So specifically in this stage of life for us, I think about Isabella because her shifts are in the evening. And my worst time of day is in the evening. Once like 6 o'clock hits, I really don't want to go anywhere or do anything. I'd like to be in my pajamas, and soon I want to be in my bed.
She's only 40, but she acts like she's 80.
Yes, I do. And then you've got Isabella, whose schedule is, working the afternoon shift 3 to midnight. So how can I see her and interact with her, because she's wide awake in the evening and I am like desperately trying to survive in the evening. So I can go visit her at work. And that's one thing that I try to do. I visited her just yesterday at work. And when I paid with my credit card, she asked to see my ID to make sure it matched my credit card. And I was like, what? She's like, it's policy, Mom. And I'm like laughing so hard as I show her my ID.
I don't know you.
And then I grabbed her other employee, her coworker, was like working right next to her. And I showed him my ID and I was like, she is carding her own mother. Can you believe this? And he was like laughing. It was really funny.
Well, and you've gone in before and said, hey, I want to complain about an associate who works here.
Yes. I was like, I would like to complain about Isabella Osterkamp. And the poor little sweet teenager behind the counter was like, yes, ma'am, I'll get my manager. I like messing with my daughter at work. But so that's one thing that I do is like, I've got to try to find her where she is, and she's at work. So
well, and that's the thing. If you get them fired, you'll have plenty of time to spend with them.
This is the plan.
Problem solved.
But like, listen, I don't like Dunkin' coffee. I like Starbucks coffee. I'm sorry to all of those who hate Starbucks. I like Starbucks coffee because of the way it tastes. Okay.
Listen, we all know Dutch Bros is the superior
No, I've
spot.
tried the coffee there. I don't like it. Anyway.
Dutch Bros is the best.
So I have gone into Dunkin' because my daughter works there so many times, and I'm like, honey, help me find a drink that I can drink here because I'm going to come visit my daughter. And I can't get a donut every time. I'll be huge.
Don't get me started on their dry donuts.
Yeah, I don't like them anyway. But we really don't like the place our daughter works, apparently. But that's where she is. So I'm going to go there. So wherever my daughter is where I'm going to go. And so we go to Dunkin' and we meet her and we mess with her and we tease her and stuff. Our other daughters are kind of all over the place. But like any way that I can connect with them, I do. So Catherine really loves grocery shopping, so I bring her along with me when I grocery shop, even though
she likes all kinds of shopping.
She's going here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
I have gone over to her dog sitting job, so like she's house sitting and dog sitting. I have gone over there, brought her coffee, and we've watched a movie together.
You ever peek in the fridge?
No.
Open up the cabinets?
Actually, wait, I take that back. At that one house, it was also our friend's house, and so. Shout out to Sherry and Jeff Rosinski. What? They're like awesome friends. But she was house sitting over there, and I went over there, and Sherry has given me access to her
carte blanche
to her espresso machine that makes amazing lattes. And I know exactly the latte I get. I put in Sherry's favorite latte. It is now my favorite latte. So I did go into their fridge because I got the cream out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make yourself at home.
But I also, that day I brought grapes and goldfish crackers and like, I don't know, random stuff that the kids like. And we went over there and we watched a movie there because that's where my daughter was. Like, and any way that I can meet my kids wherever they are, I'm doing it. Because this stage is harder. I have to work harder. It used to be I could just go to their room and be like, hey, let's do this. They're not in their room anymore.
Yeah.
They're all over the place, and it is really tough. But it's worth it. It's worth finding them. It's worth meeting them where they are, and spending time with them.
And so, family meeting tonight is, hey, having a conversation with your adult children, and just talk about how that transition has gone or is going for you. Sharing the good things, the bad things, the difficult things. And then, all right, how can we connect? How can I, as your parent, step into your world? How can I be more of a help? How can I meet you where you're at? What are the things that you enjoy doing that we could possibly do together? And once again, it's about you stepping into their world, you going to meet them where they are. You're not saying, come into my world.
Mm-hmm.
it's about finding ways that you can step into their world, connect with them, meet them where they are. And so it's all about a fact-finding thing for you in this family meeting is, hey, I want to spend time with you. I want to be there for you, but I need to know what that looks like. How can I help you? How can I come in to your life where you're at and be a help and a blessing and connect?
And I want to tag on one little other thing. It also may be exploring the interests of their new spouse. You know, because now you've bring in the spouse and okay, you know, we may have this one day. You may have an in-law, you may have a son-in-law who loves cars and you don't care about cars, know anything about cars, but
I do know how to fill up the tires.
Air in the tire.
I know how to do that.
But you will meet him where he's at and you will show interest in cars. Will you go to a car show?
I mean, I don't know. See how serious this thing gets,
but that
before
may be,
I commit.
That may be what it means is showing interest in their spouse too. All right, guys, we got to wrap this thing up. Thanks for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite all your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a message, we do want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts about this episode, your comments, your tips, your suggestions. You can text us or call and leave a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting. It's going to be a little bit heavier than this one today. We're going to talk about addiction and the way it affects your marriage, whether you realize your spouse has the addiction or maybe you're the one who has the addiction. But we want to talk about how to support your spouse through their addiction or how to come to your spouse with your own.
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you for watching us. We appreciate you being on there. You get the real vibe because you can see what's happening. You can see me doing this and it not affect him at all because he's such a man.
But put it in the comments there. Like, what are the things that you've found worked well for connecting with your adult children, for stepping into their world? Or maybe you want to open up and say, hey, I made a few mistakes. Watch out for these things.
Yeah. But I think the other thing that people can do is say, this is what my parents did for me as an adult.
Yeah.
Or this is where my parents failed for me as an adult. They didn't connect with me. They had no desire to show interest in what I have interest. And share with us those things because we can learn from positive, but we also learn really well from negative examples.
Yes,
so
we do.
Let us know what happened in your family and how your parents treated you as an adult. We can learn so much and we can grow. We aren't the only ones with ideas.
No.
We got a few ideas, but we need your ideas. We want to hear from you, so share with us. Thanks for joining us this week, and we will meet you right back here next week.